Welcome back. Episode 16 of the Herstorical Society podcast. I'm Kara.
And I'm Amanda.
And do you want to take over, Amanda?
Sure. Today we're going to start a new series called Pathways of Healing. And we have our first official guest on the podcast, Ashley Hall-Tai. And we are... Woo!
I cheered for myself.
Yes! And you should.
That's right. First step towards surviving life.
That's true.
Yeah. And so we're just super excited to start this. I'm so excited that we have an actual guest.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
Yes.
We feel fortunate.
I'm
Very
so honored to be your first guest.
Our guinea.
I told them before we hit record, I'm not doing this 3 times. If you've been following along with their podcast, this is going to be one take. One take, friends.
That's right. That's all you get.
This is it. Yeah.
Or the fee goes up.
Yeah.
Steep fees here.
Oh, man.
Second rule of life. Have a high fee. Just kidding.
Unless you're with your best friends, and then you don't have a high fee.
Right.
Thank you.
No fee. Yeah.
You're so great.
We are very grateful. Yeah, as we always say on this podcast, we are very low budget. Although, so on the last
We hit it
episode,
big.
yeah, on the last episode, we showed a clip of Trump under deposition for the E. Jean Carroll case, and when we went to play the video, the Eggland's Best commercial played, and so we have an egg commercial. So I would like to report that I have officially signed up for a 1-month free trial of YouTube. So
I hope we don't get in trouble for advertising eggs. We don't have permission to advertise.
they're probably grateful for free advertising.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, so hopefully, we're not going to play a video this time, but over the next month,
Trademark.
yeah, over the next month, we won't have commercials on the show for at least 1 month until I figure out if I want to pay for it or not. Yeah.
Until you
There you
get
go.
a check from Eggland's Best.
Right.
Yes.
And then I'm like, they're going to pay us from now on. It will be our first
Don't give
paycheck.
away all our secrets, Amanda. Not yet.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Eggland's Best.
So, to kind of bring us to the topic, we are going to talk about life coaching. And so Ashley's a life coach, and life coaching can help with things. I'm going to just say stuff, and I don't know. Ashley's going to correct me. Can help with things like personal growth, career goals, accountability, life transitions, and more. And that's the last thing I'm going to say about life coaching because I have zero knowledge. So, yay.
She's been helpful to you even before she became a life coach.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Aww.
She was a life coach in the making.
Yeah, she was. I have gotten free life coaching for 25 years from Ashley. Basically.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, 25 years also. That's a pretty cool friendship, I have to say.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky that you're my best friend and have been for 25 years. So
I feel the same way. I feel the same way. We've been through so many things, and we both have changed so much, and yet we're still in each other's lives. And it's been, to have a witness of your life,
yeah,
and then also a confidant, a friend, and then an advisor in many ways, a therapist, of.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
But I think what's so true about that is that because we have so much history with each other, and this is tied to life coaching actually, that the things about us that were always whole and true and beautiful about who we still are that very much today. And yeah, we've changed and grown and evolved, and goodness gracious, there's so much that's different about us, and how we see the world. But I would say, the things I still think about, like when you were 17 and loving, Chicken Run and all things animated and quirky, goofy movies. And I was like, no, why? What? and then you making fun of me with self-help books and all the thing, right? And there's still so much that's fundamentally the same and true that, is exactly how we are now too. So
Right.
It's cool.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Yeah. And so to give an exact time, we met at Boston University Tanglewood Institute. So for any musician listeners, that's where Ashley and I met. And we became fast friends, actually. We were pretty different people in some ways and very similar in other ways. And yeah, so that's where we met. And so a little bit about Ashley really quickly. So Ashley doesn't have to talk about herself unless she wants to, and she totally can. So I feel like Ashley is family to me, and because of how long we've known each other and how deep our friendship has always been. And also, speaking of family, she is married to a wonderful husband, and she's got 2 awesome kids and a dog who has a slight obsession with me, perhaps, named Pippa. Yeah, and
in fact, just to put a pause there, that anytime Amanda comes and visits, Pippa always sleeps with me and Nate, and whenever Amanda is there, Pippa, she's the only person that Pippa will actually like sleep with. Like, she immediately goes to Amanda, and we don't see her. She just hangs out with Amanda, and then Amanda's dog, Coda, gets really mad, and then they reconcile, and then they both snuggle with Amanda. Like, that's how obsessed Pippa is with Amanda. So there you go.
Yeah. And I bear a scar from Pippa, like on my arm, because the last time I was there, like if I'm not giving Pippa 100% attention, she gets mad at me and she'll start scratching at me. And she actually drew blood the last time.
Are we going to tell the story? The story?
If you want.
All right. We're going to get in there.
Okay.
Because Amanda was like needing to practice, right? And like we're always like conscious of our chops because we're brass players, and she was not giving Pippa the right attention, and so Pippa scratched her, but it went right down her chops. And did you say it out loud in that moment?
I said it in my head.
In her head, she says,
because of the kids, right?
Pippa.
Yeah. Well, I said
I don't think you were even near the kids.
No, we weren't.
Right?
Yeah, we were in your studio. I said, well, shit, Pippa, in my head, because I was like, oh my God, you probably just like hurt me. I won't be able to play for a while. And thankfully it was okay. I didn't say it out loud because I didn't want to like alarm Ashley or like offend Pippa. I don't know. I was concerned about that somehow. So
at any rate, now you guys have this
I should have brought it over here
all the time in your house whenever something random happens, right? That isn't planned.
Yeah, so we're always saying it anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime anything happens, we're like, well, shit, Pippa.
Yeah.
So for Christmas, we got them an ornament with Pippa's little face on it and that quote. So now it hangs forever in their house.
Love that.
Yeah, I have it. I should have brought it over here because it's.
Ever.
Sorry, Kara, I interrupted you.
No, I just thought it was so funny.
So this is going to be the podcast today, is that Kara and I both have ADHD, and so we're going to take you on so many different detours that is just going to be amazing. All right, continue on.
That's right.
I probably have a flavor of ADHD, but
for sure.
A blessing and a curse.
Oh no.
Okay. And I just wanted to say that the ornament is across the room for me on the Christmas tree that we have yet to put away. I would love to go get it, but I didn't want to like waste time. So it is adorable. It is Pippa, and it says, well, shit, Pippa.
It's cool. Yeah.
Thank you for that awesome gift.
Of course. Of course.
Okay.
Shit, Pippa, let's get started.
Yes, exactly. So really fast, I just wanted to give a little snippet of Ashley's background as well. So outside of life coaching, she is extremely busy. I just saw your post on social media today, and you're going to England? I didn't even know you were going to England.
I am.
Wow. Yeah.
In a week.
Yeah. So she is going to be soloing over in England and also teaching. And so Ashley has been a member of the Canadian Brass. She is principal trumpet of the Cincinnati Chamber Orchestra. She also teaches privately and also on faculty at the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music. She is taught in a lot of different places. She gives recitals. She solos with orchestras. And yeah, so she's always very busy. And then on top of that, she also is a life coach. And so we are going to tap into her knowledge today in that particular topic. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to learn from you. Yeah.
Aw, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Ashley, do you want to say anything before we dive in? Or are you just, whatever, just dive into questions?
Let's roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first question actually that I wrote down is there anything you would like to add or clarify from what I've said?
What I would say is that at 43, I'm in a place in my life where things are feeling quite integrated. And I feel like the coaching and teaching and performing, there isn't this like big separation in the way that I show up in the world and how they're connected. That and I'll talk about how like each of them kind of came into being, especially in the coaching space, but what coaching has given me is this kind of deep and embedded knowledge of who I am, what matters, and what I care about and value. And that is the through thread through the things I say yes to in the performance space, for the way that I teach and engage as an educator, the way that I parent, the way that I am in my relationships with my husband, and the way that I am in friendships. And I think why I'm so passionate about coaching and sharing coaching skills, not only, to people who are looking to become coaches, but really just for the way that we engage as human beings, is because it is such a kind and non-judgmental way to hold space for another person to find their answers. And so I'm excited to get to share a little bit about what that looks like and how I got into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of my next question. Well, actually, the first question is, and we could do these in a different order. So the two questions that are coming up, one is, how would you describe life coaching? And the other one was, what inspired you to become a life coach? So
I feel like she kind of answered.
You kind of did already.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I could go a little deeper into it though. So I'll describe life coaching first, and then I'll say why I decided on this modality of help. Life coaching is the most non-directive form of help that there is. And so when you think about the forms of help spectrum, you have the non-directive, which is life coaching, the most extreme. And then what I would say next is the mentor. And then in the middle is the teacher. And then next from there is the therapist. And then the very other side, which is the most directive, would be a consultant. Like you're hiring a consultant for them to tell you what they think and what you need to do. And here are the steps and here's how you're going to get there. So if you think about this form of help spectrum, you've got that extreme, the consultant that you would hire, and you have a coach that's on the complete other side of that. So if you are strictly in a coaching relationship with someone and you're hiring a coach, they are not going to tell you what to do. They're not going to prescribe stuff, give you a checklist, all of that. But what they are incredibly expert at is asking open, effective, powerful questions that draw out the answers from you. The thing that I love so much about coaching, well, there's a couple of them, but I would say I've always kind of been an idealist. I always have believed the best in people, seen the best in people. And one of the foundational truths of coaching generally is that we must, in order to hold non-judgmental space for someone, believe that they're innately capable, resourceful, and whole. And if we can hold that space for someone, they can start to see that in themselves. But if that isn't present, or if you are looking at someone like there's a whole crap ton of problems that we need to fix here, then you're going to be coming from a place of judgment and fixing, instead of really looking at how do we hold space for the whole person, not the problems. And so this idea that they're capable, resourceful, and whole, that they are the expert on themselves, and that the answers actually lie within them. And so the job of a skilled, trained coach is to be able to listen from a place. In our training, we talk about micro and macro listening, and really controlling the me listening, which is this normal human thing where we're like, oh my gosh, me too. And oh, I had that experience too, where we're really trained at learning how to listen for the micro, small changes that happen in the tone of voice, or the inflection, or the way that they gestured in some grand way, or the macro things that they say or don't say. And then helping to tease out the right question that helps them unlock what's already there and present and inside. So for me, that's what kind of makes the distinction between all of these different forms, and why I think it's such a powerful way, really, just to hold space for another human. That was a long answer, but I'll tell you why I settled on coaching instead of these other forms of help. It came through kind of this music world, in the sense that I got really burnt out and completely disconnected from why I did music in the first place. And I think in our music training, we kind of get in these, this is what you're going to do, this is how you do it, and these are the things that you should do in order to get there. And then as we get better and better and better, we kind of disconnect from like, the why. What is this for? Do I even like this? If I were to do something like play music that I enjoy, what would that be? And with whom? Those kinds of questions. And for me, I didn't like music anymore for a long period of time. And I didn't like who I was in music because I struggled, number one, with debilitating anxiety, perfectionism, and imposter syndrome. And the pursuit of perfection that is a necessary kind of thing in our field kept me bound and stuck and scared all the time. And I knew that I wasn't able to be my whole messy human authentic self, with that being the guide through which I was seeing music and myself and my path in music. And I knew that if I was going to do music at all, it needed to have a dramatic change. So that led itself first to me putting the trumpet in the case for 6 months, saying no to every gig that came across my my email, and doing my own really intense therapy and body work and breath work and meditation, and just kind of like a reboot on my nervous system. Some cognitive behavioral therapy, Rose and body work, emotion focused therapy, internal family system work. I mean, you guys are going to talk about this on your podcast kind of coming up when you're thinking about these modalities of healing, but kind of going deep into that personally, but then also asking myself the question, if I could see myself doing another job in the world, let's say like I don't want to do trumpet anymore and I want to do something else, what would that be? The answer for me immediately was some form of mental health counseling work. So I started taking classes in clinical psychology, did the whole undergrad coursework, started a master's in marriage and family therapy, got into that program, and then realized there was a couple of things that sort of coincided, but spending time in the past and in people's trauma is really an amazing work of the therapist. But where coaching is so different is that we don't actually get into the past very much. We talk a little bit about how the past has influenced where we are presently, but we don't dive deeply into the past trauma. We really spend time in the aspirational work of where are you now and where are you heading and how will that align with your values. I don't need to get into the whole, thing, but when I found coaching, when I built a program at a music conservatory called the Laundry School of Music, and found this work, did these courses, got fully certified as a coach, I realized that was the kind of missing link. And similar to what you said at the very beginning, I've been kind of innately a coach for a long time. This way of being with people was very organic and felt very true to who I naturally am in the world. But then developing the skill set through these different trainings was how I settled on this field.
That was awesome. Yeah, there was so much there I didn't know. So I had never really.
Same. I didn't know you got all that training.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. How did I not know that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it sat right alongside the performing life, which did actually come back to at the end of those 6 months. I really was conscious of saying yes to things from a place of honoring my own hell yes. Does this feel like a hell yes? Are these people I want to play with? And then if that ended up shifting during the time of doing that, it was let's let that go and reevaluate. So, I mean, you and I, the three of us have talked a lot about the performing side and the teaching side of my life, but sitting very closely along with that was this sort of parallel calling that felt very much intentional to what I was already innately doing. And, as I said, kind of in this integrated desire to bring them all together. So,
yeah, that's awesome. I thought it was also interesting to learn how life coaching exists in relation to other types of, you call it modalities of healing, and the different roles that each of those things will play, and how each of those things obviously are very important. And it's helpful for people to kind of figure out which slot or which couple of slots they should be plugged into for a particular time of their life.
Or at what point in their healing, maybe even.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll have some people who would be curious about coaching, and we'll start to get in there with even some of the negative self-talk and self-limiting beliefs. And then I realize there's some deep roots in trauma. And so it either, I would say that's beyond my scope. I can recommend some types of therapy that might be useful to look at, or let's have coaching sit right alongside your therapy so that you're able to work with your therapist on all of this stuff. And then we can really work aspirationally on how this is integrated today. So
It's
really
like
neat.
it's like an 8-week course versus a 12-week course.
How so?
Well, just because you're getting like, I don't know, to me that if you're working alongside like someone who's
yeah.
healing their trauma, you're like accelerating the progress.
Gotcha.
Perhaps.
That's
I don't know.
interesting.
I was just thinking about that because I'm thinking about going back to school.
Cool.
Yeah.
You're like, how fast can I get through school?
Not that that's the point. All I'm saying is just it was kind of like hit 2 birds, 1 stone sort of
My
thing.
brain would do that too. Like, let's be efficient. How fast can we get this done?
Not that that's
heal
important in
now.
healing. It does take time. It's not linear.
It is not. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always up and down.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, go ahead, Amanda.
okay, sorry. I had a couple of thoughts there, and I was trying to figure out which one I wanted to go to. One was a tangent, and one was back to the question. So I wasn't. What does
Question.
what does the group want? Tangent or question?
I know what I want.
You want
What feels
question?
most relevant to you right now in this moment?
The question.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, life coaching. Okay, so all right. So the next question that we had written down is, what's your coaching philosophy, and how do you tailor it to each client? I kind of feel like you may have talked about that, but I don't know if you can get more specific.
I mean, I think that there are general things that people come to work with me on. I would say that my coaching philosophy is I meet every person where they are with a open curiosity, and I never set an agenda for what we will or will not talk about. It is very much moment to moment. Where do you want to go now? What feels important now? Right? This sort of very organic conversation that stems from me being able to ask questions based on what they give. So that's kind of my coaching philosophy. It can sometimes be a little too open-ended and non-directive for some people who are looking for real concrete accountability. And so I say, when people kind of have these, like, I want, these goals, and I want to be able to like implement my like gross income strategies. I'm like, that's not, I can help you think through why that matters and why that's important, and help draw out the like what's going to tap into the intrinsic motivation that you need in order to make these steps. But the like rigid sort of versions of accountability are not what I'm trained in, or even what I like doing with people. I would say that most people that work with me work with me sort of for like shorter stretches, but sort of intense stretches. I have some clients who I've worked with for years, but I would say that most of the time, if you've worked with a coach for 3, even 6 sessions, where you get used to this sort of way of asking open questions, you begin to start to do that with yourself. And there tends to be, even like when I think about like the clients who have had quote success and whatever that success means, there's a question later, but I'm just going to jump to it now. Like, I would say that the most successful clients are the ones whose mindset went from fixed, debilitating, negative, horrible things to being able to ask themselves a question as if I were sitting there, like, what's true right now? What would love say to me right now? What am I hearing right now that maybe I'm not noticing, right? And then that the relationship with me becomes ultimately this relationship that they have with themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100%. That's beautiful. Cool. It was interesting. I like when you said, what would love say to me? For some reason that really hit something. I actually got a little teary. I was like, I should explore that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really good.
Yeah. I mean, and we all have sort of some history with the church, but I think the word love is like a way of thinking of God, like however you think of that. And I like the word love because whether you have a frame for God or you don't, we have a frame for love, and it does hit people, right? In this very like tender like spot that brings up things.
Right.
So,
Aw,
yeah.
that was beautiful. Yeah. Okay. The next one is, who would be a good candidate? And you sort of already have again, I feel like I'm asking you questions that you sort of have already answered, but
It's all right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think people that struggle with debilitating negative self-talk. I also really like working in a coaching capacity with people getting ready for auditions and recitals and competitions. And it's not because I want to help them play like right notes and right rhythms. No, like that's not what this is about. But it's really about helping people tap into their authentic way to be and to be able to get into a mindset around what they can control. And I think that one of my favorite things, I mean, I have clients that work with me in all different instruments. And again, they're not coming to me for like the six-week program to the most successful audition possible, right? But what they are coming to me for is like, listen to my Scheherazade solo. Okay, and then I'll listen to them play this gorgeous, maybe they're auditioning for a concertmaster job, and I'll say, what is the emotion or adjective that you would use to describe this? Now, what changes when we get here? And usually, because we get so stuck in the like, is this perfectly in tune? Is this perfectly in time? Is this exactly what they're looking to hear? We lose that next layer step. And as a result, it gets disconnected from the humanity of what we do music for in the first place. And that's actually my favorite kind of coaching to do, when people are right on the edge of getting ready to take an audition and they're in their heads about the perfection side and getting them into the adjective, emotion, feeling side. So that's another thing that I do a lot with all kinds of different people. And it's also, it helps them to, again, sort of tap into the mental prep, mental resilience side of what do you do when you're hearing all of these people playing bolero around you in the rooms, right? As you're getting ready to go and walk in, how do you stay connected to yourself? What's true, what you're bringing that's unique, right? Those kinds of questions. So yeah, that's some of the things we do. The other thing I would say too, is I do a lot of values work with people. And this is not just like, let's choose a word of the year. It's like things like, what are you like at your best? Or what is a scenario that made you angry or really, really stressed? And the details of that thing, maybe you're something that you would work on in therapy, but what I want them to get underneath is, why did it bother you? And what value was getting pushed on underneath? Okay, once we identify and start to sift through like, oh, it's because equity really matters to me, or being seen and having people be seen really matters to me. Then we start to say, like, if you were to make decisions from that place, from this place of equity, what would that look like? And that's how those kinds of conversations go when we're talking about whether it's career decisions or the way someone even writes a cover letter. How do we start to help them think about the values alignment from the place of what they bring and what an institution might want, for example. So those are some ideas there.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we already kind of talked about, is life coaching like talk therapy? Not necessarily. Sort of. I'm not going to answer.
There are aspects of it. Yeah. I mean, there are aspects of it, but if they venture into the past, I am usually really conscious to say, like, yeah, unless we're drawing from a peak positive experience that we want to like extract, what was it, what's the feeling, what was the value added, and then what do we do forward? Yeah, that's how it's different. I would say, I mean, a lot of clients that work with me say that it is very similar to talk therapy because they just get to talk. But again, it all depends on the modality of therapy, I would say,
right,
in terms of what we get into. So
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you already kind of shared a success story. Is there anything else you wanted to share about a client, like respecting confidentiality?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I just actually I struggled with this question when I saw it initially, because although, of course, I've had, clients who've gotten the jobs and have done the things, right? Like, success really is when there's such a fundamental shift in them that the way they're asking questions of themselves is because of the work that we've done and the way that their entire nervous system has changed and shifted. But this actually, and maybe it's because I've done a lot of therapy and read tons of books and all the things, that sometimes I do use coaching activities. Like there's an activity that we use sometimes that's called Who's in Your Car? And it's like looking at all of the different parts of you and then playing with like who's in the driver's seat, who's in the passenger seat most of the time, who are the people that are like from the back seat, like, you know, hanging their head out the window and being the party, like all the different parts of us. And this activity is really neat because you can shift a player. Like, let's say you want to bring curious player up into the driver's seat when you're in a practice session and it's not going well and perfectionism is trying to drive, right? So like you can play with these kinds of things too. But sometimes it gets a little bit, if you know anything about internal family systems, it can be a little like that where when I'm coaching someone, I have a client right now who's working on concerto and prepping the emotional adjective side. How does she want to be? How does she want to show up? And I ask the question, she often says like, anxious me is just constantly like this. And I can't like get that to be quiet. And I was like, what would anxious me need in order to feel grounded? Like her word was grounded. I want to be grounded and present. And then it borders ever so slightly on IFS, where you're thinking about like anxious version of you and what they might need, but it's very much guided towards this. Actually, like she really needs to be reminded that I'm prepared and that I'm putting systems in place and I put in the hours of work. And okay, so what new systems would you, right? And so just recently, like I'm feeling the way that there is some intersection between some of these versions of therapy without, again, getting into the past, but using some of the more advanced techniques in coaching to help people like really get unlocked into how they want to be, right? And to look at these different parts that might be in the driver's seat too much that you might want to plug back into the back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, sometimes I need to put somebody else in the driver's seat.
Oh, you guys could ask like, who's driving your car right now?
She's always got to be in control. Always got to drive.
That's really funny. Yeah, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Saves me gas. It's fine.
Saves you gas. Oh man. Okay, so I already know the answer to this. Do you enjoy being a life coach?
I do. It feels like a calling, actually. It feels actually quite like a spiritual practice to me as well. And
Cool.
I love it. I would say even like the year that I was on the road with Canadian Brass, I missed having enough space to be able to hold for people in this way. And I'm really glad that I have a little bit more room and white space in my calendar to do this much more. So I love it.
That's awesome.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question would be, what's a piece of actionable advice you would leave with our podcast listeners?
If you are tempted to ask a why question, reframe it with what or how.
I love reframing. Mm-hmm. That's a new skill set for me, and it's pretty revolutionary.
Yeah.
That's not something I was ever able to do for the longest time. Just didn't have the bandwidth. I don't know. But
Yeah.
It's shockingly helpful.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking, Kara, if you
That's great.
if you wanted to expand a little bit more, if you feel comfortable, just how, you know, we're going to do a podcast.
No, I don't like being in the public eye. I'm sorry. What?
I know at some point we're going to do a podcast on EMDR, but I was thinking as you were speaking that kind of watching you as an observer that through that process of healing, through that specific type of therapy, that it's enabled you to enter into the place where you are thinking or being able to reframe.
Totally.
Yeah.
And as you know, I went into that very begrudgingly. I essentially like went in because you were like, do it. I'll pay for it. You didn't pay for it, but because I didn't want you to.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like I went and I was like, this won't help. I'm too broken. I'm too beaten down. Yeah. But it completely like opened me up to areas of myself I didn't know existed. It helped. You know, I've also struggled with being a perfectionist and having expectations that are just unreachable for whatever reasons in my past. But it allowed me to like address that stuff that I didn't even think was connected to my massive trauma. But yeah, it just, there were all these like fingers that sort of branched out, and I was able to unravel a lot more than I expected through EMDR. And I know there are multiple avenues for people to heal, but that one for me was huge. And I may explore other areas too, but that's been very useful to me. And kind of like what Ashley was saying, for her, it feels like a spiritual experience for me when I'm in an EMDR session, even when I do it for myself on my own, which I don't think is necessarily recommended, but well, you know what I mean. My therapist has given me certain skill sets to use at home on my own. But that's helpful for me, and it feels like I'm just sort of releasing something. It just feels spiritual to me.
What if people don't know what EMDR stands for?
Oh yeah, we have it. So EMDR is it's an acronym, means
eye
eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. That's
right. I would never can remember the R.
And it's a form of trauma therapy.
Yeah.
I think my understanding of it is it sort of untangles your nervous system from that trauma, and then so you don't react to triggers in the present. It's kind of a brief way to describe it, at least from my experience.
Yeah.
But I find it true. It's funny when Ashley was talking about being nervous, preparing for something. If you really like start to untangle the whys, maybe again, this is my perspective of why things are happening, why you're anxious, like it starts to just wash away. I don't know. I was just playing for Amanda the other night, and I used to get so nervous even playing for Amanda, and now I'm like, I mean, it's just, this is who I am. I can't offer any more or less. This is me. Like, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of free. Well, it's very freeing.
I think even that too, like it's asking that nervous part, like, all right, why are we nervous? Or what about this makes you feel anxious? And, what do you need in order to feel calm? Or how do you want to feel? What then would you need? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that took so much. I don't want to like, it's not a pejorative statement, but it took time to get there.
It does.
It was worth it. Totally worth it. But it took time.
And it's not skills I think that we gain early. And this is also why I'm so passionate about talking about this with younger people in music training, because I think if we had more language for how do we process and get honest with these complex emotions and ways of being without it running the show, I think, we wouldn't all be in our 40s then finally dealing with this stuff.
Totally. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. I mean, I would say on Kara's note too, there's an incredible book I know that all three of us have read called The Body Keeps Score that talks a lot about where the body stores trauma, how it stores trauma, and of course these different modalities of trauma therapy. And I first learned about EMDR there, but have had so many clients who have had incredible success with EMDR, especially around acute, isolated, difficult trauma that gets really lodged, or that your body even has no memory of until you actually then start to work it through. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Powerful.
I was going to say kind of, the initial spectrum that you gave us at the front of the podcast where you talked about life coaching on one side and then consulting on the complete opposite side. And then you also mentioned that a lot of times in a session, you'll realize that this client needs therapy to go back and to be able to maybe access the skill set to fully benefit from life coaching. I was thinking a little bit about Kara in that way, where, this large acute trauma, dealing with that now basically opens up, the healing opened up a whole other set of possibilities. And that's sort of like what you're saying, I guess, in a way. Kara, thank you for being an example.
Sure.
A wonderful example of how to be in the world. Yeah. How to prioritize healing and all that it opens up to.
I had help getting there.
Yeah.
I was angry.
Yeah.
And broken. So I
I think you said this earlier too, that it's not linear, right? And I think we want it to be quick, but it isn't this. It's just another layer and another layer.
Yeah.
And we're not done. I think that's always the thing too to remember is like, you're definitely on in an incredible spot now because of so much therapy and healing and EMDR work and your own work. And there's, constant evolution and growth
Yeah,
here.
still more to go. It's interesting, like even post article for me, there's been another level of healing I didn't
Yeah.
expect, and another level of freedom I didn't expect. So I'm grateful. Just feels kind of like sloughing off layers or something
It's
as
awesome.
time goes by.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Me too. It's good.
Okay, back to the questions. We're almost done with
boy.
the questions.
Yeah, we only have two more.
The next one was, are there any books or resources you would like to recommend?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We just kind of talked about some books that I love. This is a therapy book, but I just love it. Richard Schwartz's No Bad Parts, which talks a little bit about internal family systems. And I actually recommended it quite a lot. There's some books on CBT that I also love. But in the kind of musician unlocking, fear, trauma space, or even just working on some of the things that we've talked about or that have been helpful to me, anyone that follows me knows that I'm obsessed with Brené Brown, and so
great.
all of her books actually, I mean, they fundamentally changed my life and set me up in this number one, like the healing way in the 6-month break were kind of the catalyst of when I really began to look at my debilitating perfectionism. I was reading her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, Letting Go of Who We're Not, Embracing Who We Are. And that book still, I think, is probably the book that changed my life the most and made me feel not so alone and made me feel brave in the getting deep into the mess of all of this. Daring Greatly is amazing. The other book that I loved and still love is Big Magic, Embracing Creativity Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. And then more recently, another life coach / musician / all the things, mom extraordinaire, wrote a book called The Artist's Joy by Meredith Height Estevez. And she's one of my really close friends as well. And this is what I would say a companion or sits well alongside Julia Cameron's. Wait, did I say The Artist's Way? I meant The Artist's Joy. Sits alongside Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. And her book is called The Artist's Joy. And it takes it a little bit deeper into the, like, if we could stay connected to joy and authenticity and our unique voice in this creative life, like what would that look like and how would things shift and how could we reckon with the conditioning of our field and continue to honor our hell yeses. That's my language, not Meredith's, but it's a beautiful book. Yeah, so there's some of the ones that I think of always right away.
Those are great.
Yeah, I'll have to check. I haven't read a fair amount
The
of
No
those.
Bad Part one is intriguing to me.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I mean, it's synergic with this idea that we're actually whole, like innately whole, but that we have all these other parts that kind of get stuck over time. That's the premise of internal family systems. And I think that's why coaching does feel like a spiritual practice for me too, is that, like, people could be like all the things, right? Like, which we all are, a big mess of all of the stuff. But innately what I'm helping them try to return to is their most whole self, the thing that's really in there and has been. And so it's like all these different parts just need nurturing and need attention and figure out how to bring them into 2025, right? This version of you. So,
And I feel like I feel like we're taught to not nurture ourselves.
yeah.
We're taught to be, like, in our field, at least my impression of my years in it, we're taught to be perfect. Don't show weakness. Be strong. Be, like, all the things that don't help with being the fullest version of ourselves on stage and as people. I don't know. It's frustrating in a lot of ways, but I'm grateful. I know now that there's a different way
Yeah.
and a much more whole way to live, which is, it just brings freedom and joy that I didn't have before.
Totally.
I feel like I was just existing and sort of, I don't know, hiding. I feel like hiding.
Yeah. In conditioned boxes, right? That
Yeah,
were put on
conditions.
us
That's
that-
great. That's a
That's
great
what
word
it
for
is. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. This is a great episode.
Yeah. I'm going to listen to this.
You
Actually,
haven't been listening? I'm shocked.
you what were you saying?
I said you haven't been
No,
listening? I'm shocked.
I actually listen to almost every episode.
I always get on Amanda for not listening. She'll be, like, doing something else. And she'll be like, uh-huh. and I'll go on like this long tangent, and she'll be like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm not saying it again ever."
I do that. Yeah. It's true. Like,
She's trying to memorize all of her facts.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
but you lead me to believe you're listening. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. And you check in
What were
with
you
me
gonna
more
say?
now because it like is a definite pet
Yeah, are
peeve.
you listening?
Are you
Yes,
are you
that's a yes.
focusing?
What did I just say?
Yes. I am bad. And like
Bring it back.
But then you sometimes still do it. You're like, yeah.
I know.
I'm
And
like,
then I feel
but
so
are you
bad.
really?
I don't mean to it's like I don't mean to do it, but if I'm stuck in something and and it's funny, like I can just be sitting and look like I'm paying attention and I am somewhere else completely.
That's true.
And I'm like working out a problem or thinking about something already very deeply and then you start talking to me, but I'm really like I continue the thought process.
You should look into ADHD because it's really helpful for like really helpful for multitasking.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I
I can
can't
do one thing sort of halfway, and I can still listen to you.
yeah, I can't do that.
True.
I
It's like, well, Kara and I have a superpower. We can like put on especially Netflix trash in the background while we're practicing. And
Yep.
no, but my husband Nate is like Amanda. Like they'll get into this like zone, and I'm like, what? Like they don't come out for hours. I'm like, what is that? That's amazing.
yeah. Yeah, I think for me I've wondered if that is like the other side of attention, ADHD, the
Hyperfocus?
hyperfocus concept.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I can definitely get very hyperfocused. And I've wondered a little bit, especially when it's sort of creative, I can go down these creative like spirals where I have to keep doing something where I'm just like, or not spiral, but like, it feels almost like a vortex. Like I must continue this, whatever this creative thing is,
Well,
until I'm done.
I give you a lot of crap, but you're great. I don't mean to do that.
Oh,
She is great.
you're
Yeah.
sweet.
I'm just teasing you.
Heart.
It's just because it's a good balance, right?
Yeah.
To us. Like that's what I think about Nate. I'm like the depth that you guys can go. I'm just like that's such a helpful, good balance. To
Yeah.
our ability to hold 10 million things at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is helpful. It's the opposite
helpful.
end of the
Yeah.
spectrum.
There you go. Yay. The yin and the
We
yang.
need each other.
Oh man. All right, and then okay, so back to the last question. It's just how can our listeners connect to you if they would like to become a client of yours?
I have a website, ashleyhallty.com, and I have a coaching sign-up page that you can click on through the coaching part of that website, but it's just through Calendly. I have a couple of different coaching packages. You can find me on Instagram at ashleyhallty, Tighe. And I put up all kinds of different content from coaching stuff to trumpet stuff and everything in between to ridiculous clothing that I wear to drop my kids off at the bus. All kinds of things. But really, yeah, would love to connect with anyone that might be interested or that this may be helpful for where you are.
Cool.
Thank you so much. I hope that a lot of people contact
And
you. I mean, we don't have the biggest
You can
following.
link that too, Amanda. You can link
gone
that
up, though.
information, right?
It has slowly. I feel like we're kind of in a lull. I feel like the holidays, like anybody who's listening, they were like, they don't want to listen to podcasts right now. And I don't blame them. I didn't listen to any podcasts during the holidays either. So, but maybe it's starting to slowly tick back up. I don't know. We'll see.
It's going to go viral.
It's
This one. I feel it.
This one, yep. This one is.
Yeah,
It totally should.
it should. This should go viral.
You can link her information, right?
Yeah, I
the
could
post.
put, I will link your Instagram and I can also just type out your website as well
Cool.
when we do advertising for this. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're almost there.
Okay, so
All right.
I wanted to talk about one thing because I feel like, there's so much happening in our world right now. So many just really horrible, like depressing, scary, traumatic things. We have the LA fires and how that's all being handled. And yeah, it just feels like the world feels particularly heavy right now. And I got to thinking a little bit about, because I've had the chance to stay with your family, and there's a practice that you guys do at the end of every evening where you talk about the things you're grateful for. So would you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's called tooties.
Tooties.
It's time for our tooties. We do pee-pee and teeth and tooties. But it's a practice we started a couple of years ago, I think, and it is, again, as you just said, Amanda, it's a way to capture anywhere from 3 to 5 to 8, whatever it comes up, things that we feel grateful for, and whether that's, you know, big things like running water and a roof over our head to, you know, the kid that was kind to my daughter on the bus, right? Whatever the thing is, I think it's a nice frame because there can be hard things, right, in all of our lives. And it's important to remember, you know, that we have each other and that we have these small things every single day that are tangible that we can say thanks for.
Yeah.
So that is something that we do every night before we all go to bed, and it is really special. I love that we have kind of a record of years of this practice. Feels really important.
Yeah.
So
I think I would like to try to start doing that too, because I do feel like sometimes you become so overwhelmed from the heaviness of life that taking a moment to be like, oh, I'm really grateful for that, whatever that is. It feels like something starts to lift off of you a bit.
yeah.
So, yeah,
It's true.
I wanted to make sure our listeners got to hear that because I thought it's a very beautiful practice.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah,
Thanks.
And helpful.
yeah,
I've had that. I wouldn't expect that, but I've been in moments where I just feel dragged down and I can't get out of a cycle of negative thinking. And I've tried that. I was like, okay, this feels cliche. It's not though in any way. And it does. It pulls you out.
Yeah.
Pulls you out of those.
Even if it's
those
just like a hot cup of coffee or like, you
Yeah.
know, yeah,
works.
little things, especially if you're in a deep funk where you can't see anything positive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. And I unfortunately have a tendency toward that. Less so now that I've been through a lot of healing, but
yeah.
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 Okay, so what I thought I wanted to do this. I hope it's not corny, but I am a little corny. We all know that. So,
I told you, this is like 18-year-old Amanda. Here it is.
that's right. And you know what? So I called it fun questions time. And the thing is,
I love it.
these questions have been edited because some of my early questions, Kara was like, no, that's dumb. So, yeah. Okay.
I love
So
them.
what-
One of my favorite ones I used to ask people is if you were a tea flavor, a hot tea flavor,
All
what
right.
would you be? Isn't that funny?
Ooh.
It'd be
Amanda, you would like
orange
that one.
spice
Yeah, I
cinnamon.
would.
You can add that one to the next time.
Sounds
Okay, go.
spicy.
Sorry.
I want to know. Okay, so if you were a hot tea flavor, what flavor would, or what kind would you be?
I don't know. I mean, immediately I was like orange, ginger, cinnamon spice.
Wow.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's very specific.
Many things.
Yeah. Many things, but like a little bit of spice, a little bit of soothing,
Yep.
calm. Yeah.
I like that.
I wonder what I would be.
What would you be?
What would I be?
Green.
I mean, I
tea.
love green tea. I'm obsessed
too.
with that. I have it here right now. You can see like the edges of the matcha on it. I love green tea. I love dessert that's flavored like green tea. I'm just, maybe I guess I'd be green tea. But I don't know what that
Tea
says
with
about
the
me.
Chocolate.
Chocolatey green tea. No, okay,
It
so
doesn't have to be real.
yeah, one of my favorite
Matcha.
the cocoa matcha. Yeah, that's funny. One of my favorite desserts with green tea is actually a crepe cake. So it's like, have you had crepe cake?
No.
Okay, so like crepes, like you get in France,
Yeah.
like the thin layer, and then there's a layer of cream, and then crepe, and then
Layer,
cream,
layer,
and then
layer,
yeah, and it's just all these layers of crepe and cream, and then on the top they'll put matcha powder. Oh,
That's your
yeah,
tea flavor right there.
that's
Oh, God.
yum.
I feel like I'm stuck between my old self and my cynical like description of
What-
that
then-
person, and then the
Then
new
what would your
self.
tea flavor
Yeah,
be?
Kara.
What would it be?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like my go-to in that moment was gonna be cynical about how I have been in my life. But maybe I shouldn't do that.
Well, what? Okay, so what would be your new? So
Maybe I
what?
should think of the new me.
Yeah, what would your old tea be, and what would your new tea be?
Oh God, let's see. Muddled. Just kidding. Something black tea, something dark.
You know, like an English breakfast, like kind of plain, kind of like, or like a, I don't know.
Complain
Well,
about
like your
you, Kara.
old. I was thinking your old
Thanks,
tea.
Amanda.
No, that was you. I thought we were describing your old tea. The things.
Well, still, you thought I was plain?
No, I don't
That
think
is
you're plain.
rude.
I don't think you're plain.
Okay. No, I don't know. I don't know if I have a good answer yet for my tea flavor.
Maybe it'll
I
come
was
by the
thinking
end.
chai
Yeah.
tea. I could see you as a
Okay.
chai tea.
Yeah.
A little spicy. You're a little spicy. You have substance. You have depth.
It's also dark.
And it's a
That's
dark.
true.
Black tea
Yeah.
element.
You like are authentic. You're okay with like the darker, like the heavier things of
I
life.
like authenticity. There we go.
So I thought
Okay.
chai
go.
was a good. Yeah.
Well, thanks for helping me.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
I know my teas.
Yeah.
I derailed the fun question time though.
Still learning.
Okay.
The tea.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Ashley's input there.
Yeah, thank you.
sorry.
I love that. I love these things. I could do I could sit for hours and do this. Like people ask me questions and I ask them questions and like weird questions like,
Yeah, like the
Ashley's
party
like,
game.
for a fee.
All the party games.
yes, love them.
All right, let's
Okay,
go.
so
Yeah.
first question, what's a book or movie that really moved or inspired you in some way?
I couldn't think of. I already talked about books I love, but I couldn't think of just one single movie. But all-time favorite TV show inspired me is Ted Lasso.
Oh, that's great. That's a great,
Oh yeah.
great show.
I think I cried almost
Lasso.
every episode of that.
That was so
100%.
well done.
It was.
So well done, and I just finished Shrinking, and that's also
That was good too.
so good, so good. So those two, I really like long form TV now because I love the character development of it, and I love when TV can capture the mess and the authenticity of the human experience. Clearly, what we've been talking about this whole
Yeah.
entire hour, and that's why I love those shows so much, and they're so inspiring to watch.
Those are both
awesome.
great.
All right, if you could go anywhere in the world right now to visit, where would it be and why?
I have skiing and scuba diving on my mind. And so some of the first like thoughts I had were a scuba trip to Belize or Bonaire, and I want to take the kids because they're both scuba certified.
Cool.
And skiing, I would love to take the kids west because they haven't skied great mountains yet here in America, but I also think about like the Alps. I would love to also just take them to Europe and do some skiing there. So that's actually what popped in my mind right now in the season I'm in.
Yeah, sounds awesome. I want to go. I don't.
Yeah.
Scuba diving
Yeah,
sort
I
of
get that.
freaks me out a little bit. I think I would
Can
feel
understand
a
that.
little bit of terror, a little bit in the ocean,
Reason.
not in a pool,
There's a reason. Feel
but in
terror.
the ocean. Yeah, yeah. Like this
But
feels
it's also
claustrophobic.
magical.
Like there's something about it that feels like I can't, like that feeling of I can't get out, kind of a feeling. I'm sure I probably would work through that, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should try it. Do a discovery sometime when you go and have like a great, it's, I thought the same thing too, because I hate enclosed spaces. But it's actually some of the quietest my mind feels and most spiritually connected to the world that we live in and how incredibly beautiful it is.
Yeah.
When you feel like you're one of only like a few, humans in the world who get to experience this underwater world like this, that's also just insane. So
Yeah.
Cool.
yeah,
Let's see that.
Yeah. Okay.
cool stuff.
Describe yourself in. Oh, Coda. Coda wants to be part of this. I've been muting
I
myself.
got a word. He's got a word for me. What is the word?
So describe yourself in 3 words.
What would you say? How would you describe me?
Authentic.
What did you mean?
Authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our first word. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Caring.
Oh.
I also think
I would say
compassionate.
non-judgmental.
Yeah, that's basically the same thing. Compassion and non-judgmental. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking also introverted. Actually, introverted is the first word that I wrote down when
Wow.
I looked at this question.
That's
which is-
surprising.
which also I think is tied to like the season that I'm in and kind of how I've grown and evolved and what things I crave now.
Cool.
But introverted, thoughtful is something I think about, and curious kind of go together. And you're going to love this one because we connect on the Enneagram. I also, one of the words I thought of is like just goal driven. Like if I have a
yeah.
goal, like I'm going to go for the thing. I'm really goal driven and specific sort of in that way.
So earlier when I came to the fork in the road, whether to go on my tangent or stay with the questions. The tangent was the Enneagram.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I was going to say, there was something where you guys were relating on something. I don't know if it was goals or what it was. And I was like, of course, because you both share a number, right? So Kara's
We
a
could
4.
do a podcast on that at some point.
We should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
could
should
do an
have you
episode on
back. We'll do it with you. Yeah. Boom.
I'm not an Enneagram expert, but we can certainly talk about Enneagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're not experts on the majority of things we're talking about. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, but I was thinking so Kara's a 4, you're a 3. Kara's wing is 3, but your wing is 2, right? Yeah. So, but you share the 3. And I'm a 9, and under when I'm healthy, I go to 3. I can go to 3. So, we sort of share that a little bit.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
2 more questions.
Okay. What's your Kara,
Go
do
the
you want
last
to
one
you
first.
should read these. You want to read these?
Okay, what's your favorite color?
Green.
Oh, nice.
That's it.
Nothing to elaborate on.
Nope.
Okay, and what's your favorite guilty pleasure snack?
Do you know what it is? Do you guys know what it is?
I don't.
I got to think about that.
Tofu?
Beans.
That's like an everyday bean, go food. I'm a vegetarian, so that's what you would say. No, guilty pleasure for me. What do you have an idea? You're thinking. It's okay. I'll just tell it.
Yeah.
Reese's Pieces.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, those are good.
Yeah.
Oh man. It's a dangerous thing if I have like a whole box during a movie though. Oh, or raw cookie dough.
Yeah.
God, I love raw cookie dough. I might feel like complete trash after I eat it, but it's just so dang good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
What are your guilty pleasure snacks?
Should I know the answer to this? I mean,
I know mine. I have a list of them, unfortunately. But most
I
of
like
mine,
sour stuff, like Sour Patch Kids, things like that.
Ooh, those are good.
Yeah.
mine are usually salty. And so I made the terrible decision of going to Trader Joe's and letting myself
Salted nut.
buy from the snack aisle. And those little corn dippers, oh my God. Love those.
They're like Fritos.
They're Fritos, but they're
essentially.
like maybe slightly
They're
better
organic.
ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they like bugles? Like that kind of
No,
a
it's
thing?
like a corn chip. It's like it's totally a Frito. Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
do like corn chips.
But like better ingredients, yeah.
Pita chips. Oh. But like the thing I can't have in the house ever would be, or like if I'm out somewhere, like at a little, I don't know, fair or something, and they have kettle corn, popcorn. It's like the mix, the salty sweet.
So good. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Can't help.
So
It's
good.
bad. It's bad. Yeah. So sometimes Kara will get some stuff like that, and like I'll be like, you have to go hide it. So I'll like close my eyes and I'll plug my ears and I'll start humming, so I can't hear where she put it, and then I'll forget about it.
But then you'll ask me where it is.
I know. And then you're like, are you sure? Are you sure you want me to get this? And I'll be like, I just want 5. But then it becomes like this. I want 10. And then I'm like, I can't help. This is terrible. I can't. This is ridiculous. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay.
So good. All right.
All right. So Ashley, are there any final thoughts you would like to impart?
Oh my.
That's a big question.
It's a big question.
You
I
can
don't
say
know.
no.
I mean, the first thing I always think about a question back is, what are you all taking away from the hour that we just had together?
Well, I mean, I thought it was really illuminating. I mean, I have several books that I'm going to look into. I just felt kind of seen. I thought it was cool to talk about what we do and
Yeah, cool.
how it impacts us.
I
I thought this was a very fruitful episode.
definitely.
Thanks.
I definitely learned
Stayed
more.
very engaged.
I learned more about life coaching. Like there were so many things I didn't know. I also learned more about you, and I also had this thought of like,
Yeah.
oh my God, she's my friend. She's like my best friend. What?
Yeah.
Aw, I feel that way about you guys too, all the time.
Yeah, I felt very
thank you.
lucky.
I-
Yeah, you were very
I
knowledgeable.
think
Yeah,
yeah, I think you come across as very together and incredibly smart. I'm very impressed by that. I want that.
Well, thanks. Thanks.
Yeah. Not to blow sunshine, but
Oh no,
That's
I
awesome.
feel really lucky. Thank you for having me as your first guest on your podcast.
yeah,
I feel
it was a pleasure. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, so honored.
Yeah.
And I love you both a
Love you
ton.
too.
yeah, we love you too. Yeah, totally.
Tell
Yeah,
your kids thank you for giving some of your time
know.
together to us.
Yeah.
And
Kept the
Nate.
volume of the movie down so we could record.
Yeah.
It's good.
And tell them we miss them. I miss them.
They're super cute.
Yeah. I do miss them. I was actually hoping I could come see.
All right.
I was thinking about that last night. Like, if, being able to come spend some time there.
Anytime.
So your house has a feel to it. It feels like it's a very relaxing, I don't know, it feels like a place to kind of go and recuperate, recover, feel
at peace.
valued, feel seen, kind of all the things I think that we see in you, your house can resemble. And that's what it resembles to me.
yeah.
I was imagining how I would feel there. There's a feeling I get when I'm there. It feels very
Thanks.
peaceful. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I had a friend that came to and described it like getting a big hug from our land too.
Yeah.
We live on 9 acres for those of you who don't know, and I live in a log cabin, so that's what they're talking about. And yeah, there is something about like not seeing white walls all the time and like being just a beam away from nature that not only has like the challenges of that, but that is very, as you said, grounding and like warm and cozy. So
100%.
yeah. Yeah, anytime. Please come. Anytime.
I think I'll just say just thank you for being who you are in our world. We need more of you.
Thanks.
I'm grateful. So everyone that's listening, you should reach out to her. She can help you.
That's right. That's right. Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, it's my time to do like our little blurb here at the end about things that are upcoming.
Okay.
So again, we're going to continue down this series, Pathways of Healing. We're going to look at several different, we are going to do EMDR, and we have something lined up where we're going to look at yoga and trauma healing as well. There's some other things that I haven't fully figured out if we're going to discuss those topics or not. So I'm not going to reveal those yet, but I hope that the series will be many, many parts going forward. And just to give you an update, so we will eventually return to history. For those history buffs out there, there might be 2 of you. Kara is not one of them. Ashley, I don't think Ashley's one of them either.
I am not.
Yeah. I love it. And yeah, so, but we'll be returning probably to the Akkadian Empire sometime after the Sumerian city-states in Mesopotamia in the Bronze Age. So we'll be going back there, and we'll eventually make our way up into Greek and Roman civilizations and how those impact European culture, Western culture, and then eventually the United States. So, and okay, there was something else I was supposed to say here. Oh, the very next episode, episode 17, we're going to go back, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure, to a heavy topic where we'll be looking back at the Giselle Pellico trial and its resolution.
I wanna follow up.
Yeah, and what's happening kind of in the news now. And there are actually lots of things happening just like yesterday or 2 days ago. So we're going to do an episode back and kind of deep diving into that case, and we focus that for those who want to kind of catch up before that episode comes out. Episode 4 is entitled The French Me Too, and you can learn about that there. But thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Ashley. We are so grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great to be here.
We are.
All right, we will see
right,
you
well,
next
thanks.
time. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.